right, let's start with a question. What's the 3 things you don't talk about at parties? Especially right now.
Fight club.
All right, politics, religion, and nutrition, and y'all about. We're basically in a storm of all 3 of those right now with like where we're at, right? How we eat is important. What we eat is important. So in thinking about a lot of people who are interested in nutrition want like some magic elixir, something that says, hey, this is going to help you reach your goals. And there's the assumption that it has to be very like complicated or difficult. Like we have to do like 100% of weighing and measuring and all that on a consistent basis. Here's the deal. If we can make small changes, lifestyle habit-based approach, and we can do them consistently, that's the number one thing that's more important than anything else. It's not so much making a really great meal, having a really great workout, and then doing the exact opposite of those things for days and days on end. It's really more about perspective. So the first thing needs to happen, if you are wanting to use nutrition to fuel like either athletic performance, weight loss goals, weight gaining goals, the first thing that needs to happen is you understand where you're at. So we're going to do a New Year's program. It's going to be 6 weeks long. That's going to include 3 scans. The first scan kind of lets us know where our start line is and lets us know what's feasible over the course of 6 weeks. Okay. During the 6 weeks, the program that I'm going to be putting on is going to be habit and lifestyle based. So one of the first things we're looking at is that motivation is unreliable. So motivational quotes, we all look at them, we're like, yes, that gets us going good. But you know what's actually more motivating is seeing results. So when you just got done, you're probably much more excited, motivated to come back for tomorrow's workout, figure out whether you're going to do Sunday fun day, what you're going to plan out for the next week. So one of the things that when we start working out is there's probably some of us have goals, right? So we have an idea of where we want to be. So when we start the program, what's going to happen is we're going to figure out what the goal of your 6 weeks is going to be. From there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to help you understand like what skills are going to be required in order to reach that goal. So if we're talking about something like cooking, nutrition, one of the things you have to be able to do is if you're going to cook, you have to understand like how your oven works. You have to understand either how to prep the food, how to cook the food, how to store the food. If you don't have these skills, well then giving you an approach that is going to be based off 100% home cooking is not going to work. It's not going to be consistent. So once we have the skills and we understand like how do we put those things into practice on a very regular basis, once again, consistent, and then what are going to be your daily actions that we're going to do. So for this 6-week program, probably in the past you've seen like challenges where it's like this person's on this team, this person's on that team, and you're trying to earn so many points. This is all you. So if Alex comes into the program, what I advocate for Alex is going to be totally different than maybe what I give for you, Dustin. Because all we're looking to do is look at food on a continuum. So rather than saying, hey, I'm going to tell you foods that you absolutely cannot have or foods that you should be eating, this is not going to be like a grapefruit cleanse where you can only have grapefruits on Monday, Fridays, and Saturdays. All right. What we're going to look at is understanding what are the reasons that you're using for your food choices, and if those choices are good reasons, more times than not, they're problem-solving skills. For instance, if you have a busy day, you stop off at Chick-fil-A, well, you just solved a problem. You have 0 time, you need to eat at some point, you solve that problem. But maybe that's not the best problem-solving solution, that there could be other solutions that maybe you're not aware of, or that we can employ if you're held accountable. So the daily actions will lead to what you do on a regular basis. These are all going to build up to the goal. So the first thing when we start off is we're going to talk about your goals and understand whether that's a feasible goal or not within the 6 weeks. So for instance, if someone comes up to me and say, I want to lose 50 pounds in this 6 weeks, I'll say that's awesome, fantastic. Let's get that ball rolling, but I don't see 50 pounds happening. So understanding what's reasonable, what's not, how do we go from there? All based on there. One of the things that we'll be talking about is how do we set up your environment and your support system so that you're much more successful. So for instance, I think I've heard Jeff say this before, if it's in the house, you're gonna eat it, right? So how do we help you, how do I help you understand what's in the house, who are the people in the house, are there scripts that you can use to kind of approach the people in your house so that they understand like why you're doing something? Because I think if you're surrounded by an environment, a community, and in the house, you're going to be much more likely to succeed than if you don't tell the people at your work. So literally, one of the things that I'm working with one of the clients here is we devised a plan. She has a work where people come around literally every 2 hours and provide snacks. So we devised a plan to help her create, so she doesn't even have to say no anymore, so that people won't even stop at her desk anymore. We created an opportunity for that. So along the way, all of this, there are 3 things that focus on process and 1 thing that focuses on the end result. So that's our main focus, is the process from day to day, is what are the consistent ways that we go about the skills and the practices. So think more about small successes. We do them here. Like anytime someone gets a PR, someone does something for the first time, what do? We celebrate that along the way. We know that's not their end point, but it's something fun to acknowledge. And I am what you would like, self-proclaimed positive accountability. Like if you're doing something that is moving you towards your goal, I like celebrating probably a little bit more than I should, only because I think that if I get excited, like you're gonna get excited. And that is like, turns into motivation, turns into skills. So this is the umbrella, and then under the umbrella comes down to this. I am only gonna give you, during this program, or any nutrition coaching, I'm only gonna give you things that you will be absolutely successful at. So it doesn't, like I said, doesn't give me or you any good to give you a plan that has detailed macros, percentages, and stuff like that, if you don't know how to weigh your food, if you don't know how to prepare your food, if you don't know how to find those exact macros at Zaxby's, right? So focusing on things like how do we obtain more whole foods inside the diet? And rather than thinking as a restrictive, like you cannot have this, you cannot have that, how do we add things in? So by proxy, adding things in will push other things out. So focusing on the process along the way. And if you're saying, hey, I've kind of mastered, I'm already at this plateau, I'm eating whole foods all the time, I'm getting 5 fruits and vegetables a day, I'm not eating an inappropriate amount of poor food choices, but I'm stuck, well then we start to add another layer of complexity in. So whether you are someone that just needs to understand how to put together a meal, or whether you're someone that says, I need to know down to what time of day, how much I'm going to eat, and how much I need to work out for these specific goals, along the continuum, that's going to be feasible. So I'll be able to meet any one of you where you are for that portion of the program. Here's the cool thing, is digital check-ins will be happening every week. So what you're going to do is we're going to meet together for the program, sit up for about an hour, figure out where you are, what are your values, what are the things that are important to you, and exactly understand why you want to make changes to your nutrition, so that all of the things that we're going to advocate are going to be based on what's important to you. So if you come to me and you're like, hey, I want to lose a bunch of weight, be ready to explain to me why you want to lose that weight, what your life is going to look like when you lose that weight, and what are going to be 2 crazy questions. So one of the first questions I'm going to ask you is there going to be anything good about staying at your current weight? Because let's be real, if we make no changes, it's comfortable and it's not challenging. So, life is easy. But if we do want to make changes, what are going to be the things that are going to be, there potentially could be bad things, right? So when I say potential bad things, if your goal is to gain weight, you want to gain muscle, so you want to learn how to eat the right way to gain that, well, you're going to have to buy some new clothes, which means that you're going to have to spend money. So if you're kind of a miser and you don't like spending money on new things, well then that actually is a con. So is that enough of a con to make you not want to gain your goal? Because one of the things that we'll talk about is ambivalence. Like, is there things that are like holding you back from achieving what you want? Because sometimes in theory we like the idea of a goal, but maybe we don't actually want the goal. We just like the idea of it. Like for me, I love the idea of living on a sailboat and like having a mobile home. But is it really feasible for me right now? No. But I love the idea of it, and I like romanticize it. So one of the things we'll talk about is, are you romanticizing a certain weight loss goal because it meets like some external criteria that you think is important, or is it something that you actually want? And if it's something you actually want, we're more likely to get to it, right? So that's pretty much the outline of what we're looking at. So you have 6 weeks. You'll have homework every week when it comes to every week we will build on what I'm asking you to do. So for instance, it may be week 1, all you're doing is increasing in the amount of fruits and vegetables a day, and then understanding where your macros, or like what you're eating at that time. And then the next week, so what you'll be doing in week 6 will look vastly different than what you're doing in week 1. So every week you'll start to increase. So, and then when we get to week 6, we'll decide whether we were successful, what we want, and where we go from there, and what are the tools I'm going to give you. So one of the first tools I'm going to give you is a guide that's going to show us the path that we're going to look at and how we're going to get there. 6 weeks, looking at, if you are still interested, we're looking at $315 along the way, and that includes all of your scans, your meetings, the check-ins from every week, and then also all the accountability, because I think for some of us, that's more important than any meeting, any guide, is me calling, texting, emailing, and asking you, what did you do today to make yourself better? And sometimes for some of us, just that little bit of, damn, he's gonna ask me every day. And understanding that when you put your monetary investment into it, you're less likely to not do the work. So investing your time, your effort is gonna help more than anything else. So that's what I got. And I think I was right at my 15-minute mark.
Backwards plan that?
Sir?
You backwards plan that?
I always backwards plan. That's the goal. So if you're interested, let me know, let Jeff know, and we will we'll get you right. So it starts January 6th, and it will go for 6 weeks. And then essentially, yes, sir?
Is it a one-time payment?
No, you can break it up. You can break it up. Jeff has said that if you need some assistance in that area, that he will help you with that.
So you do this, and then you decide if you want to continue. Do you pay for this, or what?
So what we'll do, this is a program in and of itself. So if you want, we also have here like the basic nutrition coaching and the advanced advanced accountability. Both of those programs are 3-month commitments. So this is a 6 months, is a shorter thing to kind of kickstart the new year. So once you get done with this, you can either say, hey, I'd like to continue on with some nutrition coaching, or just like per diem, like just, hey, can we meet once a month? And then you would just pay a fee to kind of check in like you would for like personal training. Cool? I know, I put them to sleep. Overall, here's what I want you to know. If you don't understand what you're doing or why you're doing it, like nothing will work. Like going to Weight Watchers wouldn't work, going to any other nutrition programs or a registered dietitian or nutritionist. If you don't understand why, it won't work. So if you want to be in the program, like be ready to answer some of those questions when we sit down, is understanding exactly why this is going to be important to you. See you later. We babysat a Great Dane, and he was like 135. If I saw you walking down the street and I was on the same side and I had my daughters, I would literally walk them across the street because I don't want them to touch you.
Will this make me go to the games?
Do you buy a ticket? Yeah, you can go to the games.